Hello, and welcome to today's CA Capacity Management Global User Community Webcast. My name is Lisa, and I will be your event specialist. At this time, all lines have been placed on mute to prevent any background noise. After the speaker's remarks, there will be a question and answer session. If you would like to ask a question during this time, simply press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. If you would like to withdraw your question, press the pound key. I would now like to turn today's call over to your host, Mr. Jim Lundy, Community Board President. Please go ahead, sir.
Good morning. This is Jim Lundy. I'd like to welcome everybody for joining us. We had a wonderful CA World, and Jeremy Rossbach, Principal Product Manager, will be giving a presentation on that. Our agenda for today will be the CA World, the CA World Customer Session Summary, the CA Capacity Management Strategy Vision, what's coming in the new release, the Capacity Management Product Roadmap, leveraging the community for customer validation, and additional capacity management resources with some questions and answers at the end. And now I'd like to turn this over to Jeremy, please.
Thank you, Jim. And let me just advance the slide here. There we go with the agenda. Okay, so let's just go right in. Hello, everyone. We're going to jump into CA World here, and what a great event we had last week. What I want to discuss with everyone on the line here is actually some of the great customer sessions that we had and the benefits that they're seeing from CA capacity management. So real quick, just a few shots there of a lot of the excitement that was going on at CA World. We had a handful of dedicated demo booths, and as you can see, a lot of participants came by and wanted to learn as much as they can around CA capacity management. Some great session speakers, as well as the event night you see there at the pool was a good time with the Goo Goo Dolls. And even had some tweets you see at the bottom there from our analyst friends at Forrester and Gartner, who reiterated the fact that it was a really great event with a lot of energy and enthusiasm, and as we can see on the right there, a lot of customer success stories that we are going to dive right into. So once again, for those who had joined us maybe on our last community webcast, we talked about what was lined up from a customer session arena, and from SunTrust, Navy Federal, Humana, Pepsi, Bank of America, a lot of great sessions, a lot of great hands-on labs with standing room only customers getting deep into the product technically. And as we mentioned, some demo stations that were out there that got a lot of traffic, as well as the user community meeting that we had as well. So I want to jump right into the Bank of America session. This was actually the first one, I believe, on Tuesday, if I'm correct. And right away, if we get into some of their pain points, which may ring a bell to some of the folks out there today, Bank of America is moving into the mobile arena. A lot of folks already bank mobilely with Bank of America, but they know they got to move forward as quickly as possible, specifically around some of the challenges that we see here. We're always online. We're always mobile. As you can see, 2 billion mobile subscribers, 70% of customers don't have enough time. They need to get done what they need to get done as quick as possible, as easy as possible. These are traditional challenges that we see with a lot of companies today that are looking to either keep breaking into the mobile arena or drive forward as fast as possible. So in order to stay as lean as possible and to meet these user demands from a mobility standpoint, they had to really understand how to deliver applications into production with the least amount of code errors and produce the best service delivery levels that they could. And by doing this, they were able to, as we can see here, use application performance monitoring tools to understand how to tune the application before it actually got into production using CPU as a key indicator there. And what they were able to do over time, as can be seen, is that what they see in the code that causes any CPU spikes, they would go back to development, recode that, and make sure that we didn't see those spikes again when the application went into production. So they really were able to guarantee service delivery levels like that throughout the application lifecycle, even before they went into production. By using CA capacity management, they were also able to understand their existing applications and whether they would move to a new hardware platform and what kind of hardware platform. So by being able to do hardware comparisons, as we can see on the top here, they were able to understand using CA's capacity management tool by placing the different current workloads they knew about the application onto the known scalability of a IBM Systems X or an IBM Power 7, do those comparisons and actually get really valid results around what if we move the application to this series server, what if we moved this application to that, what will utilization look like, how much headroom will we have, and they actually saw that the IBM P7 series outperformed the X series for overall system capacity. So this is just some of the predictive answers they can get before actually moving into production, and really, have that confidence level they need to get back to the business for the plans that's going to shape the future of the company. Also taking volume impact forecasts, so being able to understand if we expect a 4x or a 10x or a 50x increase in workload on a certain application, where's the breaking point going to be? When is the supportive infrastructure choke? And then with that information, build those models and then understand what they need to do when, what upgrade plans they need to put in place at what time to successfully get through that peak workload period. And then real quick, another example of capacity management success at Bank of America. When you don't have the performance data available to use to build your capacity management models, like Bank of America did here, they were able to ingest just design documentation around the application. It's a new application that actually hasn't been in production yet, so there's no test or production data available to build models. But at least with the business plans, the design documentation, they were able to understand from an app response time point of view, when the transactions go through the series of multi-layer of applications that makes up that business service, what type of transaction times would we get on that supportive infrastructure that entire multi-tiered application sits on? If we let it go along this infrastructure, we get about 5 seconds of response time. If we remove or upgrade certain parts of the infrastructure that supports that business service, we get additional benefits to transaction time. So more and more predictive information that's really needed prior to putting anything in production, and this is a lot of what Bank of America saw from their successful capacity management installations. If we move on to Verizon, here is an MSP story around partnering with CA and the capacity management solution to help onboard and bring customers into their cloud environment with the confidence and ease that customer needs when making such a big move to another provider. And what we have here is, there's a lot of CA solutions that were in place with this partnership, as well as capacity planning. There's security products, cloud products, configuration products, but particularly around capacity management, what they were able to do is a lot of the business challenges they saw from onboarding their customers were, helping these customers meet their growth projections, getting to market as quickly as possible, all of our customers today, and I'm sure a lot of us on the phone here are under cost initiatives, reducing cost initiatives, and turning around projects as quickly as possible. So with CA Capacity Management, Verizon was able to onboard a very very large and well-known home improvement company. They were able to help them identify what could be consolidated in their current infrastructures, what applications were candidates for migrations and what weren't. They were able to, help them understand the total cost of ownership and the ROI from following the solutions plans, the capacity management plans that were outlined for balancing out their hardware, software, and supportive licensing costs. So, when Verizon helped this company understand what they could consolidate, it's a very compounding effect to understand what can be taken off the data center floor and the cost around maintenance, support, and licensing of that hardware, just builds and builds, and the dollar figures start getting bigger and bigger. The outcomes from helping this large company, a home improvement company, were understanding their capacity and reporting on that and turning around that capacity in a matter of just a couple days. And we can see the predictions of hardware and software savings over the 5-year periods are quite substantial at $30 million for this company. And, above all, to be able to design an entire private cloud solution, even outside the capacity management arena, and to be able to understand the resource requirements for that prior to purchasing those requirements is one of the biggest benefits for this customer, to be able to gather all that information and have the confidence in this MSP like Verizon to be able to succeed with their business plans. If we move on to Pepsi, we all know Pepsi, one of the largest food and beverage distributors in the world. They have one of the biggest SAP environments in the world. So if we can imagine the orders that flow through this SAP environment are quite substantial and very large. In order to test migration of their SAP environment onto a new platform, it was very expensive, very cost prohibitive to match all the hardware in production and stand up that hardware and test. If you can imagine, the biggest SAP environment in the world has a lot of hardware supporting it. The executive request, as we can see there, is to cut costs and improve quality. And it's pretty hard to cut costs when you think you have to mirror the hardware in production and stand it up and test. And as our simplified drawing here at the bottom shows, performance problems identified late in the application lifecycle can be very costly. So with CA Capacity Management and Application Performance Management solutions, they're able to identify any bottlenecks early in the application lifecycle in the coding quality. What we can see here is they were able to build a simulated end-to-end model of their SAP environments. And once again, the biggest power of capacity management from CA is this modeling and what-if simulations. What if we added, 10,000 more orders in the month of May? Where's the breaking point inside of this infrastructure? Is it going to be on the back end at the databases? Is it going to be the front end web servers? Wherever that can be identified, they can sidestep and make adjustments. So they can capture the performance results in their models, make the appropriate adjustments, and roll out into production with the confidence that they're obviously always looking for. And the value they're getting from it can be seen here when they're able to model and compare along the entire application lifecycle. They're constantly identifying bottlenecks, constantly able to sidestep any issues, go back to development if it's a coding issue, and say, as we can see there in the quote from Mr. Taylor, as a result of their models, they're able to go back to the design team, redesign, and avoid any problems that could have occurred inside of production once the app went onto the new hardware. as you can see, they need to make sure their application can handle any expected workload volumes. If not, a company as big as Pepsi is going to lose a lot of money. And as can be seen there, they've saved millions of dollars by using this performance model-based testing throughout the entire application lifecycle to catch any of the gotchas they might find throughout the development, testing, QA, and eventually into production process. SunTrust, very large financial institution out of Atlanta. And, you know, they had some really effective and sometimes pretty basic challenges, but ones that we all have and a great starting point for adopting capacity management processes. They needed to improve productivity. They needed to reduce costs. They had way too many guys doing capacity management. And you'll see this as a quote from our SunTrust employee here. 7 different guys doing 7 different ways of capacity planning, producing 7 different results. And it's not the way to do it. So they had a major initiative from the bank to improve efficiency, cut costs, as we're all under, I'm sure, at the moment. They had a really a tough time getting insight into their current capacity levels, performance levels on their infrastructure that supported their critical banking applications. They needed to right-size their infrastructure. Instead of having to go out and purchase more hardware, they needed to understand what utilization rates were on their current infrastructure so they could reuse and even balance out what they have inside of their data center at the moment. So reclaiming underutilized assets. They called it CPU harvesting, which I think is a great term. So understanding what's out there and reusing it instead of buying more. Some of the benefits they see from CA capacity management. The top one, I think, is the best one, is a formal capacity management methodology is now in place for them. You know, no more do they have 7 different guys doing 7 different things, producing 7 different results. As can be seen at the bottom, they have one tool with one methodology with one way to perform capacity planning, which is important to them because now they have a very consistent, precise, and standard way to report back to the business. What took them days and hours, now their capacity planning analysis is completed in minutes. Once again, those 7 guys on this team, we're all human. We make errors. So removing the manual efforts, the human error out of the capacity planning process is huge for them. Self-service capabilities for reporting on capacity. And you know, a single repository for all their performance management data now to be reported on and producing these utilization graphs, the current utilization that we see in front of them today. You know, reducing risks. They understand what's under-provisioned, which, as we all know today, anything that's under-provisioned is a risk to production applications when they're redlining at 80–90%. And you know, they know what's over-provisioned to reduce costs and that compounding effect. What we can remove off the data center floor or reallocate to different business services, we're saving additional costs on labor, power, cooling, licensing, et cetera. And I heard this more than once at CA World, which is deferring hardware purchases into the future and even waiting for cheaper rates from the manufacturer. So when you know you don't have to buy new hardware because you have underutilized resources that can be brought up to that sweet spot or 50, 60, 70% utilization, you can possibly negotiate cheaper rates for any hardware you need to purchase in the future. And I think this is the last one, Humana. Large healthcare insurance company, they were under cost restraints and government regulations. As we can see at the top there, the Affordable Care Act left them with a little bit of money in the bank to run the company at the end of the day. For every dollar they made, 85 cents was paid out to a medical claim, not leaving them much to run their operations. So as you can see there, efficiency was not just a good idea, but a necessity. They were currently pulling data from vCenter only. That data was not normalized. They had obviously costs. Again, costs were very high for standing up new application farms. Their applications are housed on very large physical servers, and this can be very expensive. And they also needed to provide a level of performance that was at the most efficient and effective cost rates. So in order to do that, they needed a solution that had the following requirements: maintaining data, trending across different platforms, multi-platform support, to be scalable, to be able to right-size. P2V modeling is what they wanted, and workload what-if scenarios. So those of us who know CA capacity management, all of that is our sweet spot for them. And what they were able to do with the product was provide use the comprehensive the component model library repository that comes with CA's capacity management to be able to understand when they were standing up new applications, to predict and model what this application might look like on a certain configuration of a vBlock, or a Cisco Blade, P-series, and X-series, down to the specific core, speed, memory size, etc. Extensive data feed options, so the ability for us to ingest their data around multiple sources besides vCenter that they were looking to adopt. P2V modeling, workload modeling. The graphic there in the middle shows sample workloads that they were able to capture, and once again, balance or predict what the future would hold if they move that workload to a new hardware platform. What's utilization going to look like? No guesswork. Able to, with confidence, understand what that workload change would look like and would be, to provide more confidence back to the business when this application moved to production. Looks like the quote there at the bottom got a little squished. But one of the things that our friend from Humana mentioned was a seat at the planning table, which was very important to him, to be able to provide back to the business the confidence in IT that they thought they had all along, but to be able to sit down at the planning table and say, this is what capacity looks like today. Here are your plans for this application and what the infrastructure can support in the future, and any things we need to do to alleviate any bottlenecks. This is the plans for that as well. So the quote actually is from, we have a seat at the planning table now because the data we produce from this tool has proven that we have a handle on our capacity. One of the biggest goals, once again, is to defer our hardware spend as long as possible, and CA enables us to get decent utilization rates out of the hardware we already own. So that is it for me around CA World. We had a wonderful, wonderful event with a lot of enthusiastic and excited folks talking about capacity management. And I'm going to turn it over now to Mike, who's going to talk about what's on the roadmap for capacity management as well as the validation program.
Jeremy, can you give me access back so I can put up a quick poll?
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Yep. So I see me, Customer Programs 4, and Mike.
That's Customer Programs 4.
Got it, all right. There you go.
Okay, we're just going to have a quick. We're going to open a quick poll here. And then I'm going to give it back to Mike. Okay, Mike, it's all yours.
All right. Thanks, Jeremy. Thanks, Mary. I think really it's, I guess Jeremy rubbed off on me. I definitely get the energy from the CA world as well, going through all the 6 customer presentations, covering the whole spectrum of the maturity curve of capacity management, right? So looking at some customers just get started, get into the capacity management space with basic reporting, knowing where their resource consumption is, all the way through the advanced user who leverage the modeling component within capacity management suite to plan their business ahead of the time, such as their SAP critical application. You really see the whole spectrum of customers getting value out of the capacity management portfolio. And seeing them mingling together, getting value by talking to each other, exchange the best practice is really the way to go, the value you get out of the CA world. So now switching gear, looking at more from the long-term perspective, the strategic vision of capacity management, really we view that as used to be a narrow-focused niche tool for capacity planners only, more moving towards dynamic resource management. So we see the strategic position of capacity management as a tool has been elevated substantially within the organization, whether it's large enterprise customers or MSP. Everyone is looking at capacity management as a strategic tool for them to lower their IT costs, also increase the service level, and more importantly, do it at reduced risk. So how do we view from CA perspective to keep the product running over the next 18 to 24 months, right? So these are the 5 pillars behind the strategic vision that we view are critical for the product roadmap. Building from the bottom to the top, first, we think capacity management, the first challenge that we need to deal with is big data. So big data has been a buzzword thrown around a lot at the CA world. For different products, they have their own interpretation. I think the relevance here for capacity management is we can't manage without data, right? So when we talk about data, we're talking about large-scale configuration data, real-time performance data extracted over time from your monitoring solutions. And we also need to get the mapping data between the application to the infrastructure. So those type of data we need to gather from various data sources, a heterogeneous environment. Some of our customers have more than 30,000 servers under management, and they want to pull that kind of data on a daily basis into the performance repository. They really view capacity management solution as a single truth for all these performance data over time for their planning purpose. So how do we deal with this large-scale data over time, right? And also more efficiently retain that data, support the business decision-making is really the first challenge we need to deal with on the roadmap. I think Jeremy mentioned some customers have the requirement to retain the data more than 13 months. Some customers want 24 months. So that kind of data retention policy puts a substantial challenge on the product design and the enhancement. Moving from enterprise scale to open data framework, that's how we access the data. So we believe once you have the data extracted and massaged, normalized, saved in your performance repository, you should be able to get value out of it from various front-end UIs, whether it's customized reporting or whether it's building dashboard or some of your homegrown tools, right? You should be able to access data. So the strategy we put in place here is to enable what we call the Capacity Command Center API. So that's a standard web services API, which will give you the ability to access the most important resource score-based information from the capacity management database. We'll also keep on our journey of converge the UI As you know today, we have several different UIs accessing the same backend database. Sometimes customers find that cumbersome to navigate. We'll embark on a journey to converge them into a single, easy-to-use, straightforward UI interface. So that's what we mean by open data framework. Moving from that to expanded analytics, that's really the bread and butter where the secret sauce relies on for this product portfolio. We started with our patented resource score calculation based on the spec inc number. We do our own scalability benchmark analysis. We continue to expand what we call the component model library, which today consists of more than 5,000 various computer models, operating systems, virtual machine managers, the different scaling factors and curves related to these different models are built in out of the box provided to our customers to enable them to do planning. On top of that, we also evolved from the old hand model building exercise to more towards automated solve for large-scale analytics, evidenced by the virtual placement manager. So when you do these large-scale cluster-wise best placement optimization, you don't want to try one by one to see how things look like. You really want a placement engine using the advanced placement algorithm to give you a optimized placement for certain scenario analysis. So that kind of analytics will be definitely our focus going forward. We support VMware today. We support Hyper-V is on our roadmap, and AIXL is on our roadmap as well. Again, going back to the big data theme, right? We can't manage without data. So the broadened scope data source is another pillar within our strategy. Here we're talking about not only supporting the computing environment. We started from there, mainframe, distributed, and into the cloud. We understand the different scaling factors of the computing resource. We're also going to expand into the storage arena. One of the challenges when you talk to any large enterprise customers or MSP is the ever-expanding cost on the storage consumption, right? You want to rein in that cost, make sure you have better utilization on your storage resource, and also make sure when you do provisioning, you avoid the hotspot on the storage side. So it's our vision and plan to expand our placement engine to take into consideration the storage consumption information. The other challenge we have often seen with capacity management is people want to see both sides of the picture, the infrastructure side of the picture and also the application side of the picture. So we have to get transactional data into our performance repository as well to bridge the gap. By that, we are talking about additional integration with APM solution like CA Wiley or third-party solutions. So getting the application data, transaction level data into the database, doing our own correlation, figuring out the step-by-step resource consumption across the whole tech stack, right? Figuring out where is the bottleneck. Then do what-if analysis on top of that. That is one direction we're heading towards. Last but not least, once you get all these monitoring and what-if analysis, you want to enable your IT operations to perform action on top of that. So here we're talking about taking the intelligent output of the placement engine or analytics as an input into your provisioning tools, right? For example, you can imagine a use case where you want to expand your current VDI environment from 5,000 seats to 10,000 seats, and you want that provisioning to be guided by your current resource consumption, the understanding of the resource consumption, where the bottleneck is, and where to add the resource. So that kind of closed loop automation is the ultimate optimization for IT organizations. So those are the 5 areas related to the overall strategic vision we want this product to move to over the next 18 to 24 months. Now we get a little bit into what's coming in the next release. So folks who have joined us at CA World know we have a new release coming in the June timeframe. We codename it as Wrangell, which is a national park in Alaska. The key features we introduced here are spread across two product components. One is CCC, Current Capacity Command Center, and the Virtual Placement Manager 2.2. Here, the main features we introduced include the total refresh of the UI components. We dropped the Flash and introduced the native HTML5 and GXT 3.0 support. With that, we're going to support the native print and resizing functionality from the browser directly, and also enable better performance because the smaller memory footprint. Aligning to our one of the pillar under the overall strategy of supporting large-scale enterprise deployment, we introduced Oracle partitioning support in CCC 2.2. Obviously, this requires Oracle Enterprise Edition as a prerequisite. By moving the three largest tables within our performance repository into partitioned setting within Oracle, we are able to achieve better performance for both the background processing on a daily basis, like migration and roll-up, and also provide faster query response time on the CCC UI and the CCR UI. So that's definitely some benefit along the enterprise scalability front. Entity filtering or entity deactivation help customers to remove or mask some of the decommissioned entities from the UI and also from the resource roll-up. Over time, you might have your environment changed. Some servers are decommissioned or not in service anymore. This feature will help you to clean your UI and get a better understanding of the current active systems in your environment. I think on the entity deactivation front, there's some great ideas on the user community. I think Jim Longley, you actually provided that as an idea. I haven't responded to that, but this just to clarify, this entity deactivation feature will help you to address that issue. Public cloud sizing is another feature we introduced. A lot of customers, if they're not in the cloud yet, they are considering moving to the cloud to lower their IT costs and also provide a bursting buffer to reduce their risk. So when they do this kind of planning, a deeper understanding about the offering from various cloud vendors will give them an advantage when they do the vendor selection. So what we provided within capacity management solution is a pre-built set of virtual machine templates and host templates based on our own benchmark researching into the Terremark, Rackspace, and Amazon offerings. So essentially, we give you a deeper understanding about the type of offering these public cloud providers give you and what's really behind the scenes on those virtual machine offerings, right? What type of host they typically use in certain regions and what type of resource they allocate when you require a 2x4 or 2 vCPU by 4 gig memory. So that will give you a very good understanding about the typical performance you can get by moving your applications to the cloud, putting them on a virtual machine running on Amazon, for example. And we also give you some kind of indication about costs related to this kind of virtual machine on the cloud, so you can do a better decision making by moving your workloads to the cloud. Project template is a feature we introduced. We're going to introduce in 2.2 release. It will give customers the ability to do hypothetical reservations going into the future. People always plan projects ahead of time. Sometimes they do phased rollout. They want to understand their underlying infrastructure consumption based on these reservations going forward. So this project template is a starting point for us to get into that area, helping customers to facilitate capacity planning including the reservation from project sites down the road. Folks might know CA launched the IAM, Infrastructure Management Product 2.0 last year by giving customers a one-stop shop solution, including both infrastructure management and the capacity management. We provide this IAM 2.0 data adapter, giving customers the ability to tap into your IAM 2.0 backend database and collecting performance and configuration information from there. So that is what IAM 2.0 data adapter is. So that rounds up the CCC VPN features in the 2.2 release. We also made some changes into the Capacity Manager 5.2 release, which is also going to be available around June timeframe. The key feature we introduced here is mainframe support on the modeling front. So today you can do what-if analysis for a distributed environment. With 5.2 release, we added close to 150 mainframe models, IBM Z-Series, ZOS Virtual Machine Manager. So all these will help customers to do end-to-end modeling, including both distributed and mainframe environments. So those are the key features we are going to introduce in the June release. We are in the process of doing the final phase of customer validation and QA testing, and hopefully by the middle of June, you will get your hands on these new features. Now let's take a quick look at what the short-term product roadmap looks like for the next 12 months. So now you have a feeling about these three different slides. The first one talks about longer-term 24-month product vision. And the second one gives you a view about what's coming in the next 3 months. And this one is a midterm view of the product roadmap. As you can see, the middle red line is the dividing point between the history and the future. So what we have currently as the shipping version is CCC VPN 2.1 release and the Capacity Manager 5.1.4 on the far left-hand side. So I'm not going to enumerate the features you have today. And the first block right past the red line is Wrangell release. I just talked about the key features in the previous slide, including both the Capacity Manager and the Capacity Command Center and the VPN. Now going into the fiscal 14, which is the next 12 months, we have 2 product release planned for the Capacity Command Center VPN and a small service pack planned for the Capacity Manager. So on the CCC VPN front, here are the list of the features we are evaluating and prioritizing. As you can see, we have released SCOM product supporting the physical servers already this week. Continue that effort. We're going to add the Hyper-V support into the SCOM database, into the SCOM data adapter. Because the SCOM data adapter can be released separately from the base product, so there is an opportunity for us to get this SCOM Hyper-V adapter out relatively soon, around the summer time frame. I know there are a set of customers out there waiting for this enhancement, so this should be good news for them. Coupled with that, once we have the Hyper-V data source, we can do placement and balancing within the Virtual Placement Manager. Project reservation, we talked about that. We're going to continue on adding advanced support with project reservation. Last but not, the key feature here is CML mapping. As I mentioned, the component model library with the 5,000 plus computer models and different OSs are really the secret sauce of our product. However, today, the way we do the customer environment, customer configuration into the component model library mapping is a little bit cumbersome. There's some great ideas. Again, Jim, thank you very much, on the community website under the idea tab, talking about his recommendation about how to make some of the changes. We actually have thought about it and had some initial designs in place. We're going to help customer automate the mapping process, essentially provide some kind of fuzzy mapping out of the box, and reduce the amount of manual work required from the customer side to do the mapping. So that's the CML mapping feature. Automated workload growth is really a feature within the Virtual Placement Manager and the Capacity Command Center. In Capacity Manager today, you can already do the what-if analysis down to the future. But in CCC and VPM, we only support the historical view and the current view. So this automated workload growth will give us the ability within CCC and VPM to see how things will work down the road into the future, right, with building inherent growth rates. Placement reports is a way for customers to evaluate different template-based placement. What's the efficiency of each one? What's the cost? And it's an easy way for them to compare and choose what's the best placement option they can use. Group management is a way for customers to create customized groups right from the UI. So today, the grouping is created based on the group DA on the back end. It's done automatically, but some customers want more flexibility right from the UI side to determine what kind of customer groups they want to create. So this group management functionality will give them the ability to do that. I talked about storage in the previous slide already. Essentially, we want to make the placement and the balancing algorithm to take the storage consumption information, the terabytes used, gigabyte used, what's the available space for each data store on certain NFS mount points, or that kind of information into the placement and balancing. So when you do your provisioning, you can be rest assured the VM location is optimized from storage perspective as well. I briefly talked about the UI convergence. That's a journey we're going to embark on in the fiscal 14 timeframe. We're going to leverage the CA platform, the UI services portion, to converge our various UI front end into a single unified UI. With that, we're also going to add the security support, also based on the CA platform. So that's a whole slew of features we're going to introduce or planning to introduce in the fiscal 14 timeframe. There will be 2 releases at a 6-month cadence each. So you can imagine if we will be on time, deliver Wrangell release around June timeframe. The next release of POS probably will be around the end of this year, and 6 months after that will be the Arena release. So that's really a sneak peek of where the product is heading towards for the next 12 months and what are the features we're going to introduce. Now let's move on to the last topic, at least from my section. We're very excited about the community, the activity generated on this capacity management community. We had Jim Lundy as our president, the president of the board, leading some of the effort. We're definitely encouraging people volunteer to help with some of the membership information and also some of the coordinating the effort within the user community. So there are several board positions still available. If folks are interested, you can reach out either to Jim Lundy or myself, Mike Zhang here, or even post a message on the community, right? If you are interested in volunteering. What we're interested through community is also to perform customer validation. So today we do a closed beta program with a selected number of customers. We want to expand the scope. We want to expand the reach of that validation program to more customers. And we view the community as the best place to do that. So we'll start a pilot program, probably with the Microsoft SCOM solution kit. As I alluded to, the base solution kit that supports the physical server is already G8 this week. And the Hyper-V support for that solution kit will be added very soon, hopefully in July timeframe. So what we will do is carve out a private section within the CA capacity management community send out invitations to the whole community. So based on your interest level, you might respond to see whether you want to join this Microsoft SCOM Solution Kit validation program to test out the Hyper-V support. So it's the first time for us. We are really looking forward to leveraging the community as a lightweight process to engage customers and get early feedback on our product. So we will use Hyper-V support in Hyper-V support in Microsoft SCOM as a pilot program to validate the process. So keep an eye on an invitation from either me or Jeremy or Mary. Maybe it could be Jim as well for this customer validation invite. So with that, I'll turn the presentation back to Mary.
And we'll just put up a quick poll. Thank you. And if anybody has any questions, now would be a good time to ask. Lisa, can you open up the line?
Absolutely. At this time, if you'd like to ask a question, simply press star and the number 1 on your telephone keypad. We'll pause briefly to compile the Q&A roster.
And there is also a Q&A module here in Webex where you can ask questions there if you're not on the phone line.
And while people are, while we're queuing up any questions, this is Jeremy. I just want to make you aware of the last slide. It's many public-facing assets on CA capacity management, from demos you can drive and interact with, to great webcasts that we've produced around customer use cases, as well as a lot of literature, ebooks, data sheets, solution briefs, really deep dive technical white papers that you can get your hands on as well.
Your first question comes from the line of Bill Brown.
Hey, good afternoon, folks, or good morning, or wherever you happen to be. I use Capacity Manager 5.1 and support several applications. And on a fairly regular basis, we go through those applications and update the demand forecast or the workload month-over-month growth percentage. And currently, I manually update that in each of the models, and wanted to find out if there are any thoughts on how I might, at a minimum, streamline loading those, or at best, automating that. Now, I know that that's not a feature of the product right now, and I don't know that it's even in the queue for enhancements, but I noted when you were talking earlier about automated workload growth, I'm not sure what that was all about, but can you speak to that a little bit? I'm just, right now, I support about 2 dozen apps, and I'm heading for 3 dozen, and wanted to be able to streamline that growth rate maintenance in my models.
All right, Bill. This is Mike Zhang. I think we talked before. Are you from Wrangell?
Well, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I believe yes. Chris leads one of the sessions. Do you use Capacity Manager today to build those models and maintain those models?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know whether you have heard us talking about the internal project called Project Claim, which is migrating the Capacity Manager and a part of Performance Optimizer functionality into a new module based on the CCC and the VPM framework. So
okay.
Since you're a Capacity Manager user today, I'll talk a little bit in depth. The CCC is really a new infrastructure we're going to base the new modules on. The idea is some of the what-if analysis within Capacity Manager and some of the modeling capability within Performance Optimizer will be migrated into this new infrastructure. And when we do that, obviously we'll give customers a way to override the growth rate, but we will most likely extract the inherent growth rate based on the historical trend and use that as a default. So you can specify your baseline. If your baseline trending growth rates changed over time, and we should be able to take that into consideration. So that is definitely the plan, and it should be one of the driving factors behind the automated workload growth as well. So the idea is that if we do that feature, one of the idea is to use the historical baseline, build in growth rate as a default value. You can factor in, right? And you can also override if you have any additional input from the business unit. But at least it gives you a starting point.
Sure. And now, as far as the override is concerned, is that something that you would be able to quote unquote load, or do you have to go in and manually enter it each month or for each month?
I don't know that yet, but I can definitely take that as an input. I would agree with you. If you can manually override on the UI, wouldn't it be better to batch load a default value from customer from user directly, right? So
I mean, even if you could just do like a CSV file import or something like that, or an XML file import, whatever.
Okay.
I know that you have to, because it's a product, you have to make it like bulletproof and all that. I just want to get my data in there.
Got it.
I don't care. I don't care if I have to go in the back door, as long as I don't have to manually enter these numbers each time I update my demand models. And so yeah. Anyway, that's kind of my primary point of pain. Given the number of apps that I support, I'm always looking for ways to streamline that process. So that's one of the manual intervention points I'd like to eliminate. And then the other thing that we've been, as you know, we've been in kind of a physical server world for a long time, and we are pretty well underway in migrating a lot of our physical environments to virtual machine environments. And so that whole P2B process is going to be it's a phased approach, particularly for some of the large applications. Oops, hang on a second. I got to switch over to my off of my headset. So if you could hang with me 1 second. I'm going to put you on speaker. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Awesome. Yeah, so, it's that running in that heterogeneous environment, with our virtual machines. And I've worked with Chris Lee a bit on trying to, get these models together. We had even talked about this before, was, taking some of my models and maybe having some of you guys take a peek at them and, try to make some sense out of them. Okay, I'm not sure where I can go with this question. I don't want to get out of scope. I guess my point is, it sounds like, the traditional CM tool is migrating more and more into the web-based interface. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's a long-term migration path, but in the meantime, rest assured, CM will still be there, supported and up and running. It's just our ability to make wholesale changes, enhancement in Capacity Manager will be limited. So the resource will be more directed into the web-based solution. And even going forward, the SaaS-based, right? Nowadays, everybody's talking about SaaS-based solution. So that has to be reflected on our roadmap as well. Okay. Well,
maybe what we could talk about offline would be, is there an interim way that I can just, that I can get my data into the models without having to manually enter it? And I'm not looking for, this may be one of those, what's the word, back channel, no warranties. You get it in there, you're on your own kind of a deal. But, as I said, I'd love to, even for interim solutions, if there's a way to get data in there that wouldn't be quite so painful, would be pretty cool. So I'll reach out to you separately. I'll reach out to you offline on this one. And I'll pop a note to Chris Lee, and maybe at our next forum or something we can talk about that. Sounds good. All right, good. Yeah, thanks. This is good presentation. Thank you.
Your next question comes from the line of Julie Arnold.
I think this was answered earlier. I think you shared the presentation would be under the community information. Is that correct?
The presentation will be posted on the community website, right? I don't know whether it's the plan or not.
What we do is we record the presentation and we upload it to the Webcast archive and we attach the presentation to that post. So the Webcast archive is in the message board in the capacity management community.
Okay, thank you very much.
And your final question comes from the line of Gary Calm.
Yeah, this is Gary Kalmus from Walmart. I had a question about the roadmap, the specifics related to CCR in terms of what's coming and what might be coming. I think the new feature you referenced having to do with manipulating grouping at the user interface level of CCC will be a big help, but I'm wondering about the long-term direction for CCR as a reporting mechanism.
Good question, Gary. This is Mike again. So the group aspect, group management aspect will be coming from CCC as an input. So you can imagine customer, first in the upcoming June release, we're going to give customers the ability to remove defunct groups, right? We're going to enhance the group EA to not creating additional groups anymore if if the group is empty. Basically, empty groups are not going to be recreated. But going forward, we want to give customers the ability to create groups and change groups membership right from a UI, and that UI, our choice is CCC today, because CCR is more a read-only type of tool. It will consume information, and obviously, once you change to the group membership, CCR should be expected to sync up with that. Right. But in terms of the longer-term direction for CCR, we really view that as it should be in a single converged UI, including both dashboarding and reporting. So longer term, that CCR component will be merged into what we call a unified UI based on the CA platform. I alluded to in the roadmap discussion about converged user interface. That is under that umbrella, we're going to put the effort together to converge the CCC and CCR together using the new CA platform. And within that unified UI, you should be able to manage your groups, and it should be all synchronized, transparent in the background for you. So that is the goal and direction of the product.
Right, but is there any direction related to other functionality provided by CCR beyond the user interface?
In that unified UI, the out-of-the-box reports will be consolidated there, and also, I mean, again, we're talking about future here. It's based on the CA platform, based on the UI services. We're looking at ways to give customers the ability to create customized reports much easier than today, which requires you to understand SQL and write your own statements, query the database. So it's more involved programming, where in the converged or unified UI, customer are only expected to drag and drop, maybe going through a wizard-based reporting building process to create a customer report. So that is our goal as well. So essentially today, all the functionality within CCR, the out-of-the-box reports, will be morphed into that unified UI. On top of that, customer will be able to get away from the cumbersome way of building customized reporting CCR, moving to this more drag-and-drop fashion of report building. I hope that helps.
Yeah, that will help tremendously.
All right. Thank you, Gary.
And there are no further questions at this time.
Okay, well then I think that wraps it up. Jim, do you have any final words?
Yes, I'd like to thank Mary for getting this set up. I'd like to thank Jeremy for giving us a review of what was at CA World. I'd like to thank Michael for giving us the vision of what's lying ahead and what's coming up soon. Just wanted to let everyone know that for all the various groups that the capacity group won an award for the highest growth in community group participation. So I want to thank everyone for joining and participating and continue that good work. If you have any suggestions for additional webcast, whatever, besides contacting me or Mary, you can post a thread on the community board. And also wanted to reiterate that the ideas is now out there on the community board where you can post your own suggestions and visions and stuff, and people can vote on it. And we do have CA's ears where they are listening. And so once again, want to thank everyone and have a good day.
This concludes today's conference. You may now disconnect.